Welcome to the top 5 Maui sunset dinner cruises. I think that doing a dinner cruise in Maui, particularly, is a great idea to do like on the very last night of your trip or even the first night. It's also a great activity that you could pair with like whale watching. So if you wanted to stretch your budget a little further, you could do a combo sunset dinner. You would also be able to probably see some whales if they're in season. So that's something to keep in mind with this. So one of these is even a luau dinner cruise. So you could even kill 3 birds with one stone. You could have a luau dinner cruise and you could probably see whales if they're in season. So I do have a little box here of just kind of a summary, best overall, best budget, and best splurge. Obviously the luau one is going to be a little bit more elaborate. And then the best budget one, this one, it's open bar, but it's more appetizer plates and not like a full multi-course dinner thing. So just your like traditional typical sunset dinner cruise where it's like a multi-course thing, this would be your best overall option here. So let's get into each one. The Calypso Sunset Dinner Cruises, these leave from Maui Harbor. All of them will either leave from this harbor or Lahaina. They're not too far away from each other. Lahaina is probably going to be closer to where you're staying, possibly, but this isn't too terribly far. For dinner, you will pre-select anything from fish, prime rib, ribs, chicken. They always have vegetarian options on all of these. The price for kids, which I think is anything, it may be like a 3 to 12 thing, but there is a slightly lower price for children. And then children under 3 are free, but a meal is not included for them. So they can share off of your plate, or you can buy a child's ticket for them if you want them to have their own meal. Honestly, a lot of these is a decent amount of food, so like it wouldn't really be that much of an inconvenience for a kid to like, especially if there's at least 2 adults or even other kids who are older that have plates, that I don't feel like it would be that inconvenient. You do get 2 drinks from the full service bar that are included with dinner, as long as you're 21 and over, obviously. And then after that, if you want to keep buying more drinks, they're $5 per drink. They'll have Hawaiian music playing in the background. It does get windy out here, especially like for sunset, so you will want to bring a jacket or like windbreaker type of thing with you. The food's going to cool off quicker, so like, don't let it sit there for 10 minutes and then wonder why it's not hot if it's supposed to be hot. That's something that you'll see in some reviews. So I was checking out some of the reviews for these. So this one does have a lot of really high reviews, but sometimes people will complain that like, oh, my food cooled off because of the breeze. It's like, well, that is just nature. It is, just how that works. If it's windy or breezy, it's going to cool off your food. That has nothing to do with the cruise company itself. It's just how dinner cruises work, so keep that in mind as well. Here's a view from ours. This was kind of before the sun started setting. Next one is the Pride of Maui Sunset Luau Dinner Cruise. This would be the top splurge one. Interestingly enough, for a splurge, it's not really that much more expensive than the others. The price is pretty comparable, but for the experience, for sure. This is a buffet for this one, which is why it's a little bit pricier. And then obviously having the luau. For adults, it starts at $158. Children's tickets are a little bit cheaper, and then infants are free. The buffet, they're all pretty similar foods. Ribs, chicken, they always have vegetarian options. And then this one does have a full service bar for anyone 21 and up. So I don't believe this one limits alcohol. If you can sit on the top level of the catamaran, you can get really nice views. So something to keep in mind when you go. It is very highly rated. Here's a view once the sun really was setting, and it was kind of like our last little view. So this is kind of an idea of what it will look like out there. Another popular one is the Quicksilver Sunset Dinner Cruises. These go from Lahaina Harbor, so if you don't want to venture all the way over to Maui, this would be really close. This one you get 2 alcoholic beverages and a 3-course dinner, and they also have live music. This one's a little bit on the cheaper side too. It's $140 for anyone 13 and up. They're a little cheaper for kids younger than that, and then free again for kids up to 3. Again, the kids that don't have the tickets, they don't get the meal, but they can share off your plate, or you can purchase them a ticket. So since this one's served in courses, what you'll start with is a Caesar salad that's got some croutons in it and some breadsticks. And then for your main course, you get to choose from prime rib, mahi-mahi, penne pasta, barbecue chicken, and baby back ribs. For sides, they have some steamed rice and veggies. And then for dessert, they have a double layer chocolate cake and New York style cheesecake. And then again, 2 drinks included. And then after that, it's $5 for each additional drink. Something to keep in mind with these menus too, these could change based off availability. This is just what is typically offered and on just kind of like their promotional page, their booking page, and it will even tell you when you book, like, you know, some things may change. If you have any sort of like dietary restriction, they tell you to put it in the booking so that they know in advance if they can plan for it or accommodate it or not. So that way, if it's something that they can't accommodate for whatever reason, then they can refund you. So always keep that in mind with all of this information. Like at the time of recording this, like when you go, if you're watching this 4 or 5 years later, it may not be identical. That is just what happens. Here's another photo from our sunset dinner cruise. You can see a whale out here. We saw lots of whales and dolphins. We were there in February. So it was like peak whale watching season. So they really were everywhere. Next is the Ocean Spirit Sunset Sail. So this is one that's a little bit cheaper if you're trying to budget a little bit more. Instead of a full dinner cruise, it's like appetizers. They still have the full service bar and they still have live music. This one's from Maui Harbor. You do get up to 2 drinks included in this one as well. The appetizers are unlimited and they are, you know, it's not just like chips and salsa, you know, like there is a little bit of substance to it. So you can still have like a full dinner's worth. It's just going to be appetizer type foods. What's interesting about this one is you can bring your own alcoholic beverages on this cruise. So you get the 2 that are included and you can bring your own, which is another thing that kind of helps save money. Again, the children's tickets are a little bit less than the adult tickets, and then under 4 are free for this one. Here is another photo once the sun finally went behind that island. This is what it looked like out on the water. Last one that I have, this is the best budget option. So the original Sunset Cruise with open bar from Kaanapali Beach. Again, this one's not a full dinner, but it's appetizers and unlimited drinks. Appetizers are things like crispy pork sliders, pesto pasta salad, Asian slaw, fried chicken with chili garlic aioli. Adult tickets, which is anyone 21 plus, start at $127 and go up from there. And then anyone younger than that, it's a little bit less, and then under 3 are free again. This does have the highest rating out of all of the other cruises, I think, just because of the little bit of affordability and the fact that drinks are unlimited. I think the fact that it's one of the cheapest things and the drinks are unlimited, I think a lot of people like that. And it's also in a convenient location for most people's hotels and resorts out there. Here's another photo from our sunset cruise. You can see the sun setting behind the island there and that it was quite windy. A lot of the photos, my hair was like all over the place. So I ended up having to like tie it up. And see, you definitely want a jacket. So here's a little bit about our sunset dinner cruise experience. We did ours with Trilogy Cruises, and theirs was the Captain Sunset Dinner Sale. I don't know how you can book it. I would just go through Trilogy Cruises and ask them. They may just be more of a kind that like partners with the hotels and resorts or companies that put on cruises for guests, is I think more of how they do it as opposed to like directly selling to guests. I do have a YouTube video here from our sunset dinner cruise and also just everything else that we did that day of our trip. So this was our menu. So we had all of these appetizers, the salad. This entree included, I think we both got the steak. We'll see later. And then the dessert trio, all of that is included. So we did get unlimited drinks for this. We each only had 1 drink though, because I feel like that was pretty sufficient. Like I actually wanted to enjoy our experience. I believe what we had was a Mai Tai and a mojito, but I don't recall. I'm sure somewhere I have it more specific. So for our appetizers, we got these, we had breadsticks, but then we also got this like smoked salmon on the pita bread. And then we also had this sliced cucumber that was topped with like a Maui onion cream cheese. And then we also had this beef tenderloin crostini. For salad, it was a Caesar salad with a blue cheese vinaigrette. And that was very yummy. For our entree, we had the sirloin steak. So that is here. And then we also had some panko crusted fish. I don't know if it was mahi-mahi or if it was some other kind. And then mashed potatoes and the veggies. This whole dinner, all of it was super delicious, and I loved the presentation of it. And then for dessert, we had the dessert trio. So it had cheesecake, some different fruits, and then a dark chocolate truffle and some different drizzles. After dinner, the staff took photos of everyone. So it was nice to have like photos together. But my hair was blowing like all over the place. So we didn't really have any like usable photos. So we ended up just taking a selfie at one point. But you can kind of see like a nice glow from the sunset there. These leis we got from our resort, by the way. Some sunset dinner cruises may have them available. By the time we got back to the harbor, it was completely dark. It was February though, so if you go other times of year, it may not be that dark, or they just do the cruises later so that it does end up being that dark. That, might just depend on the company and the time of year. So some additional things about Maui. I recommend staying at Kaanapali Beach Club. It is a Hilton Vacation Club resort, but you don't have to be a timeshare owner to stay there. You just book it like you would any other resort. But what we like about it is that you're basically getting like a 1-bedroom apartment for the same price as like a standard hotel room that doesn't really have anything extra. So this video here has a walkthrough of the room and some other pictures and videos from around the resort. This was the view from our room. And then some more fun things to do on Maui other than your sunset dinner cruise. So this links right here to just a list of activities. One thing we recommend, Haleakala National Park. They do a great sunrise tour. Ours was canceled on our trip because of weather, so we ended up driving ourselves up for a sunset instead. But this was the view as we were heading up there. Whale watching is also great if you're able to splurge on that. We did it from the same harbor as our dinner cruise. Here is kind of a little bit of what we were able to see. I also recommend Maui Kuia Estate has a cacao farm and chocolate tasting tour. It's the largest chocolate factory in all of Hawaii. And then you get to do this chocolate tasting in a treehouse overlooking like the nearby islands. So that is a really fun experience that I highly recommend adding to your itinerary. This was the view from the treehouse. And then also luau's. I have a list of the top luau's on Maui plus the one that we went to. And then also a post for what to wear to a luau if you need some ideas. The Road to Hana full loop drive, most people just go to Hana and back, but if the weather permits and the roads are open, I highly recommend doing the full loop. Here's a view from the Black Sand Beach, which is one of the most popular stops on the whole thing. I also recommend doing the West Maui Coastline Driving Tour. It's basically like the Road to Hana, but on the other side of the island. It's a lot less busy over there, a lot less visited, but still really great views. This is from Iao Valley State Park. Right across from the harbor for the whale watching and the sunset cruises is a mini golf and sports park. We did this on our way back to the airport on our last day because we booked like the very last flight out. So we had all day to do stuff. But this was a really nice scenic golf course. They had a nice little volcano, lots of trees and flowers and stuff all around. And then they also have like bumper boats and a rock wall and arcade, things like that. Where to eat on Maui, I do have a list of the best restaurants. This here is actually calamari. It's not mozzarella sticks. And this is from Paia Fish Market, and it's very delicious. I think we had that for dinner our first night that we were there. And then last but not least, I do have a complete 6-day, 5-night Maui itinerary that basically elaborates on all of the above. Everything that I mentioned above are all things that we did, including the sunset dinner cruise. So it just puts it together into a nice itinerary so you can see how it all fits together. Okay, and then the last thing, I do have this free PDF download called 5 Things You Didn't Know You Could Do for Free in Maui. It just asks for your email. And when you click that, it will send you an email with a link to download it. And that way you can either save money on your trip so that it's more affordable, or you can save money somewhere so that you can splurge more somewhere else. But that's everything that I have for the top Maui sunset dinner cruises.